Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. And for watching us on Facebook and YouTube, you can see all of our shows at inspiredmedia360.com. On this show, we focus on people who have incredibly inspirational stories to share. And in studio with me today is a wonderful woman who has such a deep level story, and you are sharing it with the world. Carey Conley, thank you very much for being here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
You are on the move. You've been traveling and sharing your message with hundreds and thousands of people. You have a book and a master course that you teach called Vision is Victory, where hopes and dreams become action and achievement. And from your website, you say, quote, you help entrepreneurs find the courage to take on their true and full potential through finding their true vision to their future.
Right.
You're living your best life.
Yes, that's one little tip, one little section of people that I serve, that I've been serving a lot over the past 25 years. Because vision, when they get it down on paper, crystal clear, in writing, Carey, it changes everything. It fixes a lot of their pain points.
And we're going to dig deeper into how you help people turn vision into victory.
Right.
But first, we want to talk a little bit about your own journey.
Right.
You have been through an extraordinary amount of pain. And I appreciate you being willing to share a little bit of this, because it certainly is not easy. But I think it's important for people to know that you are where you are today because of your strength, your vision, and your belief.
Right. Yes.
In this world.
Yes. So, the past 5 years I've been through a lot. I've lost both my husband and my son.
Yes. And you lost them both to suicide. And you wrote a blog about the 10 things that you've done to help you keep moving after losing both your precious son and your wonderful husband.
Right. Yes. So, there's so many people, because I've been so out there and so public for so long, they've been following my story, both me and my daughter. I have a 25-year-old daughter. And the biggest question marks I think they have over their head, Carey, is two of them. One, did we see this coming, which we're addressing in a book that we're getting ready to write. And the second thing is, how are we surviving? And not just surviving, but actually thriving. My daughter just got married last September. Happy little newlywed that she is. And I am building a whole new platform for speaking and coaching and mentoring people. Mm-hmm. So that is the question people have, is how are you doing it? Because the first thing, especially after losing a child, people say, that's just unimaginable, which it totally is. But there are a lot of things that my daughter and I learned that applied and worked for us, that we believe it can help other people as well.
Can you take us through a few of the lessons that you have learned? Because I'd imagine that people listening to you wonder, how do you some days even get out of bed? And you apply that to your own life and in whatever painful situation various people might be going through. And there is a lot to be learned from your story.
There is.
Because first losing your husband in such a difficult way, then losing your son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's hard to wrap your brain around that
really
level
is.
Of loss.
It totally is. And one of the things that I've had to do, Carey, and I talked about this a lot in the blog, and I've mentioned it several times on social media and when I speak, is the first hour or two of every day for me is complete solitude, because I have to bring myself back up. Literally what I call suit myself up for the day, right? I do a lot of devotion. I do a lot of journaling. I've done a lot of reading over the past 5 years around obviously this topic of suicide, obviously heaven. I've really engrossed myself in understanding that what I'm going through right now is just a blip on the radar screen, right? That's what keeps me going. So that first part of the day is everything for me. It's probably the biggest point I've made to most people.
I saw a picture that you posted on your Facebook page, and you kind of use your Facebook a lot as a blog.
Yes.
You do a lot of writing, and it's really beautiful.
Thank
you. And you share your pain, which is not easy for you because you're a strong businesswoman.
Right.
So I want to say to the audience that this is out of character for you to sit down and let those tears flow.
3,000%.
But I saw on your Facebook page, you posted a picture. I think you were in Denver speaking, and you had a golf ball.
Yes.
That had been handed out at your son's memorial service.
Right.
And what did it say on there?
It says, "Keep Looking Up," which is the title of the book my daughter and I are writing, because it is all about perspective. Again, we have to keep reminding ourselves that this world we're in right now is not everything. It's very temporary. And my son knew that. He had a very healthy perspective on heaven and that we'll be together forever. So that's why we did that.
And when you think about your son and your husband, is there a part of you, because you are a working person and you have the ability to touch a lot of lives,
Yes.
is there a part of you that feels that, you're also living their legacy?
Yes.
And what you can contribute to the world is greater than just you.
That's, again, 3,000% why I'm here. When I had a vision of being a speaker on Vision Carey, this was way before this circumstance of life, how my life turned out. Now I know why I was given that purpose. But yeah, it's so much easier for me to stand on a stage and talk to you about how to build your business and how to write your vision around what you want in life, versus what I'm doing right now, which is talking about what I've been through. It's two different things completely.
And we're going to talk about your mission statement for this year, Big Leaps Equals True Desires. But before we get to that, I want to ask you one more question on this point. Did you have times when you're like, because you're very public, and your job is to rally people, and
Yes.
it's hard to rally people when you feel so horrible yourself.
Yes.
Were there times when you're like, I just can't do all of this, which must have been so scary because that's your life's work?
Yes. Yeah. Well, after my husband died, I had a lot going on. My son had just accepted a job here in Arizona, which is how I ended up here.
And he was in the television industry like
for
I
Channel
was.
12, yes. And my daughter was in college, so I had to keep moving forward. There was no option. I also had a business that was thriving, so I couldn't stop. When my son died, we shut it all down for about a year. I kind of went totally underground for the most part. I stayed somewhat public. I stayed on social media, although I had other people doing that for me so that I wouldn't completely disappear. But I didn't do a whole lot for a whole year. And then my daughter, during that time, my daughter got married. So there's that.
Yeah. Sometimes we just need a little light in the darkness.
Oh, yes. So last fall, after she got married and I came back, is when I started coming back up for air and started incorporating the story into what I do.
And how did you allow yourself to become vulnerable and incorporate that story? Because that is not easy for a very strong woman like yourself.
Well, quite frankly, Carey, I have no option.
It's part of your story.
I mean, I have an option. I have an option to not do anything and curl up and stop. But then what's it all for? Right? And this epidemic we're talking about is huge right now.
Suicide.
Yes. So I have to be a part of that.
Yes, because you can help make change.
Right.
And I honor the fact that you have the strength and the wherewithal and the love for your son and husband to want to do that. And I'd imagine it helped you shape your vision for this year,
Right.
which is Big Leaps
Yes.
Equal True Desire. So I want to read a little bit of what you posted on your Facebook page, not in entirety. I cut it down just a little bit. You said, I have been sharing with you all that my word for the year is leap. I have also been very transparent in sharing with you that I have been challenged to write my new vision with the desire of my heart at this point in my life. My core purpose has not changed. As a matter of fact, it is more rock solid now than it ever has been. All of us need a much more clearly defined vision for the legacies we intend to leave.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, it stems from, of course, again, my experiences, what I've been through. Obviously, I just told you I've done a lot of reading. And organically, I've been led to books that talk about purpose and making these big leaps. And what I learned out of the reading and applying it to my own life is that most people, Carey, never get anywhere near even somewhat of a wishy-washy vision, let alone knowing what their purpose is here on this earth, right? It's a very small percentage of people who make that biggest leap into living and breathing and acting in their true God-given purpose. And it's a scary leap. It's a very scary leap, like it is for me, because it means you have to be transparent, allow to be used, and bring other people along with you. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing. When I talk about legacy right now, my purpose of doing this is because it's not only affecting people in my age group or older. We've got a generation right now that this truly is a very big problem. And if we don't reach into allowing them to understand their purpose and who they are and what they're meant to do and why they matter while they're here. Mm-hmm.
To make your life make sense and feel that there's a deeper meaning.
Yes, it perpetuates itself. Right.
See, I mean, I just love this so much. You continue on here saying the true desire of your heart is to know your purpose for existing.
Right.
Unfortunately, the only way people generally figure that out is when they have had something devastating happen to them.
Right.
Or they take big leaps.
Yeah.
All the true legacy building desires are on the other side of the walls, named fear and doubt. You put those in all caps.
Yes. Well, they're the two biggest walls that everybody hits. We all have them. And unfortunately, it breaks my heart because most of the people I speak in front of, it's stopping them in their tracks. And it's stopping them not only to getting to the purpose, it's stopping them from even succeeding in just daily life stuff.
So let's dig into this a little bit more. When you do your coaching and your speaking and your writing, you're talking about vision is victory. This year, your focus is big leaps equal true desires. So how do you help people connect those dots? Okay. Because I could be sitting in my car right now listening to this podcast thinking, okay, I have a vision and I have some ideas. How do you take it from that to really taking a leap, digging deeper and understanding your purpose, and I'd imagine leading people to really a true level of happiness and completion in their life?
Yeah, well, it's a real journey. It's not done in a day.
Yeah.
I, in the past, have done one-day workshops called Vision is Victory, which is where the book and the masterclass came from. And it's a process I would take them through, Carey, of first understanding why vision is everything. I literally have what I call my 10 big reasons. Mm-hmm. So we build a case around why vision is everything, because most people don't really realize that. They think, yeah, it's kind of important, I'll get around to it, but they never do.
Mm-hmm. Like a bigger vision for your life.
Yes, because I created my own in the late 80s, which is everything, the whole pinnacle of how this whole thing started. And so they start to see that they have some dreams and some desires in their heart that they're not carrying out. And then we go through the process of uncovering where they think they're getting stuck. A lot of it is, in their heads, and they'll wholeheartedly admit that. And we start talking about the fear, the doubt, the comparison, the unworthiness, all those things that are pretty common denominators. And then we talk about, okay, how do we attack those things that are the walls, the obstacles in front of what you want to get to. So, I've built 2 businesses and I've been through a lot. And the only thing I can tell you is how I got through all those walls and what continues to help me now keep going is the vision of what I see is bigger than the wall that's in front of me.
What is your vision?
My vision now is to create a movement of people who I really want to help understand that their purpose is everything, not just in their relationships, not just to build a business, but it literally is not just a life-changing thing, it's a life-saving thing. And the more I talk about it, the more I find that there are a lot of people out there who are already on this movement, and I'm starting to align myself with them because it's big.
How does it feel, and for you, in what I imagine is an ongoing effort to rid your heart of that deep level grief, which will never go away.
Never.
But for you emotionally, how has this helped you in your healing process?
Yes. Well, when you have a purpose that is bigger than everything else, again, you don't have a choice. You keep going. And most days, you know, there are still some days where I think, okay, this is just too much. It's just too much. And I have to just hunker down and put some boundaries up and just take care of myself. But I don't go down for very long because there's too many people that are needing this right now. Mm-hmm. And so I feel that responsibility to keep moving because it's needed, and it can't wait. It's now.
What do you want people to learn from your story?
Well, you know, the last thing I wrote, Carey, last Sunday was on strength. How many people tell me how strong I am? And it's not my strength that you're seeing. So that's an important point to know, that when you think you can't get through it, you can. It's just a matter of who you're relying on and perspective. Mm-hmm. Two big things. So I just want to keep pointing people to keep looking up, change their perspective. No, there's something bigger that you are called to do while you are here on this earth.
And it's okay to have a vision.
Yes.
I think sometimes
it's
necessary to have a vision. I'm going to share with you a text. My girlfriend, I didn't think I was going to share this. She won't care though. My girlfriend wrote me a text because it's International Women's Day. And she said, I am so proud of you taking a chance when no one thought it was possible. You've taken your passion and have helped change so many lives. Right. My best friend, Suzanne Bissett, wrote that to me. And that's not to say that any pat on my own back, but I had a vision of what I could create in my own sort of media world. And that was focusing on inspirational stories and stories that I felt were very impactful and useful and weren't being told. And for whatever reason, that vision was so strong in my mind. I couldn't always explain it to people, but the vision was there.
Right.
And I guess I'm not a person who succumbs to fear, which sometimes is probably just my own naivete, which has probably saved my ass many times in my career.
It's a great thing.
But when you say this, that strikes me that vision is a beautiful thing, and it leads us to a deeper level purpose.
Right.
And so tying this into the story that you want to share about your son and your husband is finding that purpose and that connection so our lives can be more whole.
Right. Not only for us individually, but for your household, your community, your state, your world. I mean, this is what you're doing, Carey, is helping me share it with the world.
A lot of people.
Right?
Yeah.
So you and I collaborating in this way and carrying out our purposes will leave a legacy.
So for people who might be listening or watching and thinking, where do I begin? Mm-hmm. If I can't pinpoint my vision, where do they start?
Well, if you go to my website, which is just my name, careyconley.com.
And it's Carey, which is the same way my name is spelled. So I love it.
Love that. It's called Visions Victory, the Masterclass. You can download the first of the 5 modules for free. And it's me doing a live workshop that I did last fall here in Arizona, talking about why I say vision is everything, building that case. And I think in that first module, I actually walk people through how to write it.
Can you give us a little insight? And I hope people do visit your website, but for people who maybe are just like, hey, just give me the goods right now, what do they do?
So you have to have a day where you are quiet. When I wrote mine back in 1988-ish, I took an entire day with a legal pad of paper and wrote out in detail everything I wanted my life to look like. It's very hard for people to take an entire day right now and not be plugged in, but it's crucial because you have to be able to listen. And so the second thing I tell them is, I want you to imagine that it's 3 years out from today. And so I get them to put the date down as if it's 3 years out. And then I ask them about ages. How old will you be? How old were your children, your grandchildren, nieces, nephews, kids, younger people that you're involved in their life? And I also ask, how old will your parents, grandparents, older people, if they're still alive, be? Because age, 2 non-negotiables, time is non-negotiable. We all have 24 hours today, gone. And age is non-negotiable. And most people see 3 years out organically that there's some life shifts coming. Yeah. And they're not prepared.
Right. So you want them to think a little bit into the future.
Right.
And why is that important?
Because nobody thinks about it. And so what happens is they run their life in reactive mode every day, Carey, doing all the busy stuff that looks like they're getting somewhere, and they're really not. And so when we look 3 years out and we see what's coming and what we want it to look like, it puts the proactive, intentional, purpose-filled activity on your calendar, so you're moving in the right direction. It fixes a lot of things.
Can you remember, and as we close things out here, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about this one super impactful post that you made. And boy, I scrolled back on your Facebook page. I was trying to find it.
There's a lot there.
There was a lot there, but it was all about Sundays. And I read it and I remember thinking it was so beautiful. Can you remember what that post said about how you have rethought what Sunday means to you?
Yeah, so I think I wrote it around Sunday, not someday. And I talked about a lot of different things. Number one, Sundays, typically are very lull in my activity. So it's where I can get more melancholy, right? I also know that a lot of people use the word someday in their verbiage of someday they'll get around to doing their vision, figuring out their purpose. And it gives me a lot of heartache when people do that, because I can't think of anything worse than dying with regret. So that first post was what created me. That showed me that I needed to do more of that. The reaction that people had to that post. Right. I remembered it. Yes. So much so that I spent an hour searching your Facebook page trying to find it. Yeah, see? And so that tells me that I'm being so transparent with my story now because I know it's needed. But I also am being very careful about how I word things, because I don't want people thinking that I'm using it. Right. That's why I held back for so long. I don't want to capitalize on it, on an epidemic. It's part of your story. It is. And I've been told enough from the people that I really trust that this needs to be done and can be done in a very healthy way. And also still be able to have boundaries. I'm a public person, but I'm also very private. Yes. Especially around my daughter and I. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing the story. And I know you have the ability on so many levels to help so many people. And where can people find out more about you, Carey? My website is the best place to go. Okay. It's a constant in-motion thing, as most websites are, because we're moving pretty fast. But it's the best way. And once again, people can download Carey's course. I mean, it's all pre-taped on there. So if they want to get a little taste of the Vision is Victory, it's there. Yes. Your book, Vision is Victory, and you're coming out with a lot more very soon. So we'll continue to update people on your story. Thank you, Carey. I would love that. Thank you. And thank you all for listening and for watching. We really hope that the shows that we produce inspire you. And if so, we'd ask that you go check out our website, inspiredmedia360.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Just go in and search Carey Pena Reports. And until next time, stay inspired.